Warfleet Admiral Zorb Tanax fixed all 6 eyes on the view screen, each blinking in a different rhythm of disbelief. His iridescent scales rippled from confident purple to an incredulous yellow as the human response to the Vraxian declaration of total galactic war sank in. "Repeat that transmission," he ordered, tapping his clawed fingers against the command console. Lieutenant Plex, the communications officer, cleared all 3 throats and replied with measured formality. "Sir, I ran it through our translators 14 times. There is no error." The message had been blunt, almost breezy. The humans thanked them for the notification and said they would pencil in the conflict for Tuesday. Their Marines could use the live fire exercise. Silence fell across the bridge. 20 of the Dominion's most elite officers froze. Others sagged in furious, confused silence. Second Commander Grill's voice rose, each phrase sharper than the last. Zorb felt the tight, unpleasant contraction of his stomach pouches. This was not how conquest was supposed to proceed. The Vraxian Dominion had swallowed 16 solar systems. Their fleets blackened skies, and their name alone made lesser species surrender before the first volley. Zorb barked, "Show me the human visual again." The main screen brightened to reveal a human female in a casual uniform, smiling as she spoke. Smiling during an official war declaration. "Hey there, Vraxian Dominion," she said, teeth flashing. "I'm Admiral Tanya Blakely of the United Earth Defense Force. Got your message about submit or perish. Timing's perfect. We have fresh recruits who've never seen combat and veterans complaining they've gone soft. So yeah, we accept. Tuesday's open. That's September 23rd on our calendar. We'll send coordinates for the first engagement. Looking forward to it." She finished with a gesture Zorb recognized as a thumbs up. War strategist Kolo hissed in outrage. His ceremonial head spikes fully bristled. They treated the Dominion's declaration like a joke, like a sporting event. Zorb raised a hand and demanded a disciplined assessment. "What do we truly know about human warfare?" he asked. Intelligence Officer Mez stepped forward, tail curled protectively around her data slate. "Sir, our records are limited. Humans have only ventured beyond their home system in the last 70 years. They've had no major conflicts with other spacefaring species, though they assisted the Altuvians against pirates near Teti." Zorb pressed on. "And with their own history? Internal conflict?" Mez's scales flushed an embarrassed orange. "Sir, that is troubling. Their recorded history is a tapestry of conflict. Their world has rarely known absolute peace. They have fought over territory, resources, ideology, religion, economics, and, at times, for reasons so trivial even their historians lose track. Warfare is woven into their societies." A ripple of pheromones of unease swept the bridge. "Are you suggesting," Zorb said slowly, "that we declared war on a species that is accustomed to war?" Mez did not hesitate. "Not merely accustomed, Admiral. They appear to have refined combat into a cultural institution. Thousands of books on strategy, endless war simulations in entertainment, younglings practicing combat as sport. Crucially, they conduct vast military exercises in peacetime to remain sharp." Zorb felt an old, primitive apprehension creep up his spine, a fear he had not known since he was a hatchling. If humans treated war as practice, did their casual acceptance mean they truly intended this as an exercise? The bridge erupted into volatile debate. Zorb slammed his ceremonial war staff on the deck until silence returned. "We are the Vraxian Dominion," he reminded them. "Our record has always been overwhelming force, swift subjugation, unassailable shock. We proceed as planned." He turned to navigation. "Set course for the coordinates they provided. We will meet them." Alone in his private chamber, Zorb accessed classified scouting reports. One dossier, Observation 32, read, "Humans thrive under pressure. Unlike many species that invent conveniences to avoid hardship, humans voluntarily pursue strenuous activities, sports, extreme challenges, expressly to test their limits." Observation 47. Human military training is unnervingly realistic. Mock cities, simunition rounds, intentional deprivation of sleep and comfort to forge resilience. Observation 58. They cultivate muscle memory until instinct favors moving toward danger. Conclusion. While technologically inferior to several spacefaring races, Humans displayed a concerning comfort with hardship and violence. Recommendation: avoid direct conflict until further study. Zorb closed the file, a sensation unfamiliar after 3 centuries of command washing over him. Doubt. Their centuries-old doctrine of shock and awe might not break a species that intentionally rehearses violence. On Tuesday, the Dominion's primary battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates the humans had provided. Zorb expected to find an armada arrayed to contest them. Instead, a single human vessel floated modestly against an unremarkable gas giant. "Is this a provocation?" Zorb hissed. The magnified image revealed a craft small compared to Vraxian standards, its hull marked U.S. Gladiator. War strategist Kolo practically foamed. A transmission came through. On screen appeared a different human, a man with dark skin and a close-cropped gray beard, speaking with casual ease. "Good morning, Vraxian fleet. Captain Thomas Jackson of the U.S. Gladiator here. Hope you made good time. Here's the plan. We set up a mock outpost on that moon. Fake civilians, training dummies. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to capture the outpost while minimizing civilian casualties. We'll defend. Don't worry, we'll grade you." "Grade us?" Zorb repeated, incredulous. The human shrugged as if explaining the obvious. "From our perspective, this is an exercise. We need metrics for the after-action report. Performance assessment is how we improve. Don't you do performance reviews in your military?" The bridge was deathly quiet. Even the cooling systems seemed to hold their breath. Zorb felt his scales cycle through anxious hues so quickly that several junior officers instinctively stepped back. Rage and pride warred inside him. He was the commander of a conquering force, yet here he was being told to perform to a rubric. "Very well," Zorb said at last, with the brittle calm of a general steeling himself for an unknown theater. "We will play your game. We will take your outpost, annihilate your defenses, and show you the true meaning of Vraxian warfare." Captain Jackson grinned on screen. "That's the spirit. Exercise begins in 30 minutes. We'll use low-yield weapons for this round. No need to go full apocalypse on day 1. Jackson out. The screen went dark. Leaving the Vraxian bridge to grapple with a truth that was as simple as it was unsettling. They had not merely met resistance. They had met a species for whom conflict was rehearsal, and rehearsal, not annihilation, might be the human's greatest weapon. "Low-yield weapons," Second Commander Grill muttered under his breath, as if the phrase itself were an affront. "They treat this like a game." Zorb's jaw tightened. "Prepare every ship for combat," he ordered. "Readiness full. Ground forces at maximum complement. I want that outpost secured within 1 hour." "Sir, what about weapons?" Weapons Officer Zark asked. "Do we limit firepower as they requested?" Zorb hesitated. A brutal instinct urged him to unleash the Dominion's full fury, to vaporize the tiny human vessel and the moon it guarded with planet cracker cannons, and send a message that would echo through the void. But the veteran tactician beneath the Conqueror's swagger advised caution. If the humans were as peculiar as the scout report suggested, revealing the Vraxian arsenal now might hand them a dangerous advantage. Level 3 only, he decided. Sufficient to break defenses without destroying the objective. I want to see how they fight. 30 minutes later, the first salvos of the engagement, war or exercise, depending on perspective, lit the space between the Vraxian fleet and the lone human ship. The battle unraveled far from the Dominion's expectations. First, the human vessel maneuvered with impossible grace. Dozens of plasma torpedoes and focused volleys from a dozen Rexian cruisers missed by meters as the Gladiator darted and weaved, its trajectory betraying an agility no craft of that size should possess, Tactical Officer Vin reported, voice tight with disbelief. Their maneuverability exceeds our models by roughly 340%. Second, the landing, parties that approached the lunar outpost, encountered a defensive architecture invisible. From orbit, a lattice of bunkers, automated turrets, camouflaged emplacements, and minefields that funneled attackers into pre-arranged kill zones. Ground Commander Fex's transmission came through strained and then fractured by an explosion. When it returned, dust and debris clouded the comm feed. "They're using the terrain," Fex panted. They've channeled our approach into ambush corridors. They're taking notes, Admiral. Some of them have small devices, speaking into them between shots. A clipped playback from the captured audio reached Zorb. Note: Vraxian troops bunch at obstacles. Sequential tactical vulnerability. They had expected resistance. They had not expected to be studied during the fight. The situation deteriorated further when troops captured a defensive position and found printed training manuals labeled Xeno Combat Protocols, Rexian Edition. Someone on the ground had clearly anticipated Vraxian methods. Then, in a move that made experienced officers on Zorb's bridge blanch, the human ships surged inward, braiding between hulking Vraxian vessels and forcing them to hesitate for fear of friendly fire. The Gladiator executed hairline turns that should have shredded its hull. Alarms screamed. Deep penetration scans were mapping the Vraxian command ship. Internal architecture, weapons schematics, engine configurations, all being siphoned through frequencies that bypassed established security protocols. Lieutenant Plex's voice climbed toward panic. We can't block them. Their scans are operating on bands we've never encountered. Our firewalls they're being ignored. Zorb sat frozen for a heartbeat, the realization coalescing with a hard, cold clarity. This was not merely an exercise in marksmanship for the human fighters. It was an intelligence operation in full view of the Dominion's forces. After 4 hours, the fight wound down to what the humans called a draw. Vraxian forces had seized the central facility, but failed to secure the entire perimeter. Civilians that had been part of the mock population were extracted intact. Captain Thomas Jackson's face reappeared on the command screen, sporting a shallow cut above one eyebrow, yet wearing a cheerfully irritating grin. Not bad for a first run, he said. Aggressive approach, good cohesion. Points off for focusing on central objectives and ignoring perimeter integrity. Your comm encryption? We were inside your channels within 20 minutes. He tapped through his notes, eyes bright with that maddening mixture of praise and condescension. Overall, B-. Respectable, but room for improvement. See you tomorrow, same time? Zorb could only answer with a voice tight as wire. We will be there. We will not underestimate you again. Jackson's grin widened. Good, tomorrow we bring 2 ships. Make sure you sleep well. He signed off. Back on the Gladiator, Jackson exhaled and turned to his executive officer, Commander Amanda Reeves. Think we sold it? He asked. Reeves scrolled through the battle logs, a satisfied tilt to her expression. Completely. They believed the Gladiator was a frontline vessel. They have no idea they just tangled with a Coast Guard simulator. The real fleet needs time to move into position. She tapped another feed that showed squadrons repositioning throughout human space. While they play Predator, they're actually walking into the kind of net you don't see until it's too late. That night, Zorb called for reinforcements. Contact High Command. Request every fleet available, he ordered. When Mez asked how many, he looked out at the indifferent scatter of stars and felt his scales cool to a worried blue. All of them, he said. The pattern repeated across the following days. Each encounter increased in difficulty. 1 ship became 2, 2 became 4, then 9. The humans described their escalation as graduated difficulty parameters. Vraxian officers began to call it psychological warfare. After each clash, the humans offered a meticulous debrief, not merely taunts, but actionable critiques that were both helpful and humiliating. Randomize your shield harmonics, they suggested. We calibrated a bypass in 6 shots. Try flanking instead of frontal mass, they advised. They pointed out radiation signatures from cloaking devices, predictable comms patterns, and tendencies to bunch at obstacles. War strategist Kolo required sedation after the 3rd post-battle briefing. By the 5th morning, with tension squeezing the air like a vice, Zorb convened his senior staff in the secure war room. The table was a map of nerves and scales, faces drawn in anxious yellows and furious reds. This cannot continue, he said, pacing. We are the Vraxian Dominion. We do not play student. We conquer. We subjugate. We are not here to be lectured. Second Commander Grill reminded him of incoming reinforcements. 16 additional battle fleets were en route. The High Command, bruised by the implications of the initial encounters, had mobilized. But even as the Empire readied its might, the Dominion's leaders wrestled with a darker possibility. They had declared war on a species that used conflict as preparation, turned skirmishes into classrooms, and weaponized lessons gleaned in daylight against an empire that had never been taught to learn in the same way. The campaign, it seemed, had turned into a long, escalating examination, and the students were far more dangerous than they first appeared. The war room aboard the Dominion flagship was suffocating with tension. This was the largest mobilization in Vraxian history, yet Admiral Zorb Tanax felt no reassurance. He stopped pacing and let his voice cut through the room like a blade. What if this still isn't enough? Has anyone considered that possibility? A heavy silence fell over the assembled officers. The holographic star map flickered between systems, casting ghostly light across their scaled faces. Finally, Intelligence Officer Mez spoke, his tone careful. "Sir, I've been studying the human ships we've faced so far. Something about them doesn't add up?" Zorb fixed him with an unblinking stare. "Explain." Mez activated the central display, projecting detailed schematics of the 9 vessels from yesterday's engagement. "These are their hull specifications along with the code stamped into their plates." Weapons Officer Zark leaned forward. "And they're all training craft," Mez said. "Cadet instruction and planetary defense models, not frontline warships." The room shifted, a ripple of unease spreading as their collective pheromones thickened the air. Zorb spoke slowly, as if testing each word. "Are you saying the humans have been fighting us with the equivalent of classroom simulators?" "Yes, Admiral," Mez confirmed. "And there's more. I've been intercepting what transmissions I can. They frequently reference something called Operation Schoolyard, and mention a real fleet again and again." Zorb's primary heart skipped. "They've been stalling us." "It appears so, sir," Mez said grimly. "The only question is why?" Before anyone could respond, the comm chimed. Lieutenant Plex's voice cut through. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the human command ship. Captain Jackson requests to speak with you." "Put him through." The main screen shifted to reveal Captain Jackson, his expression more serious than usual, but still holding that infuriating glint of amusement. "Good morning, Admiral," the human said. "Hope you slept well. I'm calling about today's exercise. We're making a slight change to the plan." Zorb's eyes narrowed. "What kind of change?" Jackson smiled, calm as always. "We're moving to the advanced course. My superiors feel you've mastered the basics. It's time for a greater challenge. New coordinates are being transmitted now. Please arrive within the next 6 hours, and Admiral, bring your A-game." The transmission ended abruptly. War strategist Kolo, only recently recovered from sedation after the previous debriefing, muttered under his breath, "Their advanced course. What's next? Grading us on posture." "New coordinates received," Navigation Officer Trex reported. "They're unusual." "How unusual?" "They lead to the edge of human space," Trex said. "A system with no habitable planets, only a dense asteroid field orbiting a red dwarf." Zorb stared at the projection. "A trap, and they're not even subtle about it." "Perhaps they're still teaching us," Mez suggested dryly. "Ambush tactics, maybe." "Or," Second Commander Grill countered, "they're finally showing their hand. Perhaps their real fleet waits for us there." Zorb made his decision. "Set course. All ships at battle readiness. Notify our reinforcements to redirect to these new coordinates. If the humans want escalation, they'll find the Dominion prepared." Moments later, the Vraxian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the asteroid field. Scanners swept the system. No human ships. Nothing but tumbling rock and radiation. "Curious," Zorb muttered. "Where are our instructors?" "No sign of human vessels, sir," Tactical Officer Vin reported. "The asteroids interfere with long-range scans, but near space is clear." "They're in the field," Zorb decided. "Hold position and keep scanning." 3 hours passed. The Dominion fleet drifted, silent but ready, while only the asteroids moved. No transmissions. No sign of the humans. "Perhaps they sent the wrong coordinates," Lieutenant Plex offered. "There could have been an error." Alarms blared. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Vin shouted. Hundreds. They're emerging behind us! On screen! Zorb barked, the viewer filled with light as hyperspace ruptured behind the Dominion formation. Out of the rift poured warships, not the clumsy training craft of earlier skirmishes, but sleek, angular predators bristling with weapons. They moved in flawless formation, encircling the Vraxian fleet like a tightening noose. Count them, Zorb demanded, his scales paling. 573 vessels, Vin replied, voice thin. Various classes. We're being surrounded. Before Zorb could issue orders, every display flickered, tactical data replaced by a single image. A human female appeared in a crisp uniform heavy with insignia. Her silver hair was pulled back, her eyes cold and vast as deep space. Admiral Zorb Tanax of the Vraxian Dominion, she said, her voice an unyielding blade. I am Fleet Admiral Elena Volkov of the United Earth Defense Force. I believe you've been participating in exercises with Captain Jackson and our training division. Zorb managed. Where is Jackson? Captain Jackson and his training squadron have completed their mission, Volkov replied. They provided us with extensive data on your capabilities, tactics, and technological specifications. For that, you have our thanks. Realization crashed over Zorb like an icy tide. This whole time... Yes, Volkov nodded. While you thought you were humoring our training exercises, we were preparing our response to your declaration of war. Jackson kept you occupied long enough for our actual combat fleet to mobilize. Zorb gestured toward the armada surrounding them. This is your true military force? No, Admiral, Volkov said, her expression unreadable. This is approximately 8% of our active warships. The remainder remain defending our colonies and vital infrastructure, as per standard protocol when responding to a Class C threat. Class C? War strategist Kolo blurted, stunned. Our threat classification system ranks adversaries from Class E, minimal threat, to Class A, an extinction-level threat, Volkov explained. Your Dominion was initially rated Class D. After analyzing your technology and tactics, we upgraded you to Class C, a significant regional threat, but not existential. For the first time in his career, Zorb felt like prey. I am authorized to offer terms, Volkov continued. Option 1. You surrender immediately, agree to non-aggression and reparation treaties, and return to your territory with a human diplomatic contingent to oversee disarmament. Option 2, she paused, a razor edge of finality in her voice. Option 2 involves a practical demonstration of our non-training weaponry. Zorb's officers, the pride of the Dominion, stood frozen, their scales flickering the colors of fear. What about our reinforcements? Zorb asked, stalling for time. Admiral, Volkov said softly, almost with pity. Did you truly think we weren't monitoring your communications? Your reinforcements will arrive to find either a diplomatic solution underway, or the remnants of your fleet. Zorb's mind raced. 16 more battle groups en route. If he could just delay... Oh, Volkov added, as if reading his thoughts. We've deployed hyperspace inhibitors throughout this system. Once activated, no ships will enter or leave for 72 hours. More than enough time to resolve our situation. You've thought of everything, Zorb said bitterly. Not everything, Volkov corrected. Just everything you might do. We've had extensive practice planning for these scenarios. With whom? Zorb demanded. You've claimed no major conflicts with other starfaring powers. For the first time, Volkov smiled, and it was not reassuring. Admiral, when you have no external enemies, you plan for the enemies you may someday face. We have thousands of simulated first contact gone wrong scenarios. The Vraxian invasion? Scenario 1-247 in our War College curriculum. Your species isn't even the first to try conquering us this decade. Zorb felt the deck sway beneath his feet. Everything he thought he understood about the humans, their caution, their patience, their strange rituals of training, it had all been a trap, and he had walked his people straight into it. Admiral Zorb felt as though the deck had vanished beneath him. His voice was quiet, almost strangled. What happened to the others? Fleet Admiral Volkov's reply was matter of fact, edged with ice. That depends on the choices they made when faced with terms similar to those I now offer you. The command bridge fell into silence. Surrender was a concept the Dominion had never entertained. No precedent, no doctrine, no ceremony existed for such a thing, and yet, Zorb looked at the vast armada hemming in his fleet, each vessel bristling with power that dwarfed his own. The mathematics of survival were inescapable. "I will need to consult with High Command," he finally said. "You have 1 hour," Volkov replied. "After that, we proceed with Option 2. The transmission ended, and the display returned to the tactical view. The human fleet shifting into attack formation like a predator stretching before the kill. "Send an encrypted message," Zorb ordered Lieutenant Plex. "Inform High Command of our situation." "Request instructions," her voice trembled. "Yes, Admiral. And if hyperspace communications are being blocked as well?" Zorb sank into his command chair. "Then we decide for ourselves." 47 tense minutes passed before a reply arrived. The directive was blunt: preserve the fleet. Accept terms. The Dominion endures. When Volkov's face reappeared, Zorb had forced his scales into a neutral gray mask. "The Vraxian Dominion accepts your terms. We will disarm and prepare to receive your diplomatic contingent." "A wise decision," Volkov said, offering no hint of triumph. "Protocols for surrender are being transmitted. Follow them precisely." The screen went dark. Second Commander Grill stepped close, his voice low. "Sir, what will happen to us?" Zorb's gaze lingered on the human fleet beyond the viewport. "I suspect, Commander, we are about to receive the most thorough education of our lives." 6 months later, Zorb stood on the observation deck of what had once been his flagship. Beside him stood Captain Jackson, now the official human liaison to the Vraxian government. "You're making good progress," Jackson said, reviewing a tablet. "Disarmament is on schedule. Trade agreements are already boosting your core world's economy." "How generous," Zorb replied dryly. "Disarm us, then sell us the tools we can no longer build ourselves." Jackson chuckled. "Come now, Admiral. You declared war on us. It could have gone much worse." Zorb admitted silently that the terms had been shockingly lenient. No annexation, no occupation, just disarmament, oversight, and a wave of cultural exchange programs. His people now devoured human entertainment and education with unnerving enthusiasm. "I still don't understand," Zorb said, watching a human training ship maneuver alongside a Vraxian vessel. "You could have destroyed us." "Why didn't you?" Jackson leaned on the viewport railing. "2 reasons. Dead enemies can't become allies, and your people remind us of ourselves a few centuries back. Expansionist, convinced of your superiority." "And what changed you?" Zorb asked. "We met something bigger," Jackson said simply. "Several somethings. The galaxy can be dangerous when you're not the apex predator." Zorb's antenna twitched. "These others, are they the reason you maintain such a vast military even in peace?" Jackson nodded. "Exactly. Why do you think we treated your invasion as training? Compared to the threats that keep our admirals awake, your Dominion looked like schoolyard bullies. Then why not tell us?" Zorb pressed. "Why not warn us from the beginning?" "Would you have believed us?" Jackson countered. "Or would you have taken it as weakness? Sometimes lessons only stick when learned the hard way." A notification chimed on his tablet. Jackson smiled. "Cultural exchange is working. Subscriptions to human entertainment have tripled on your homeworld this month." Zorb groaned. "My offspring are obsessed with something called reality television. They keep declaring things are literally amazing and totally dramatic." Jackson laughed. "Sorry, we probably should have started with our classics instead of our current pop culture. But hey, cultural domination is a lot less bloody than military conquest." Zorb studied him. "So that's what this is? Cultural domination?" Jackson's humor faded. "No, Admiral. This is preparation. The galaxy grows smaller, the threats larger. Humanity learned long ago that survival requires unity." Zorb looked out at the stars. "And if these threats you speak of ever come?" Jackson's expression hardened. "Then the war games end, and the real fight begins. And we'll be grateful for every ally standing beside us, even those who once stood against us." He clapped Zorb's shoulder in the Vraxian manner. "Who knows? Maybe next time you'll earn an A." For the first time, Zorb allowed himself to consider the possibility. 1 year to the day after the Dominion's surrender, Admiral Volkov stood before the United Earth Defense Council. "The Vraxian integration program has exceeded expectations," she reported. "Their military has been reshaped into a defensive force. Officers respond well to joint training. Cultural exchange has built surprisingly strong bonds." "And the real reason we spared them?" asked Defense Minister Torres. "Progress?" Volkov nodded and brought up a classified star chart. A wide swath of uncharted space beyond Vraxian territory glowed crimson. "We've repurposed their sensor network. They now serve as our early warning system for the toric expanse. Anything crossing that void will be detected months before it threatens human space." "Do they know what we believe lurks there?" another counselor asked. "Not yet," Volkov said, "but we've seeded the idea through their media, fictional accounts, documentaries. By the time we tell them outright, the psychological groundwork will be in place. And if the so-called scourge never materializes," Torres pressed. Volkov allowed herself a thin smile. "Then we've converted a hostile empire into a buffer state and trade partner at minimal cost. Either way, humanity benefits. And the Vraxians? They declared war on us," Volkov said firmly. "They could have been annihilated. Instead, they've been given a chance at survival. That's the most generous outcome they could hope for." As the council adjourned, she lingered by the glowing map. The toric expanse pulsed like a wound in the fabric of space, and probes reported it was expanding. Her communicator chimed with a message from Captain Jackson. "Braxian Battle Group 7 completed joint exercise today. Final grade. B. They're learning fast.